Welcome to Catching Up with the Royals, the show that gives you a glimpse into what life is really like behind palace walls. Here for your royal lowdown and bringing you the secrets of the firm. It's me, Richard Coles.
And me, Emily Andrews. Today on Catching Up with the Royals, I have travelled around the world with William and Kate. Off camera, they've always been very tactile.
He's actually kind of, well, I think the word is hot.
I would say the Prince of Wales is hot. We'll be discussing the latest on Harry's reconciliation with his father.
I sometimes think with Harry, there's almost a sense that he's a sort of knight of old on a mission.
The King does want a relationship with his son.
Delving into another fractured royal relationship as we discuss the latest on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
What I have been told is that Eugenie hasn't cut her parents off.
How do you solve a problem like Andrew Mountbatten Windsor? I don't know.
We'll be releasing new episodes every Thursday. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, and please do watch us on our YouTube channel. Plus, you can tune in every Saturday on 5 and stream us on 5 too. So, Richard, I think Catching Up with the Royals is going to be fabulous.
Go girl, as I believe they say.
Well, Richard, this is so exciting.
It's lovely to see you, Emily. How are you?
I am really well, thank you. I'm delighted to be catching up with the Royals with you. How are you today?
I'm very well indeed, thank you. I've been away, so I feel slightly disconnected from the gossip, which I know flows through your devices like water through a stream.
Where have you been?
I've been in South Africa having a lovely time.
Lovely.
But it seems very distant from the comings and goings of the British royal family. And there has been some comings and some goings.
There certainly have. There's been some comings from another Africa enthusiast. Prince Harry has been in the UK, of which more later on Catching Up with the Royals. But first, shall we start with the Prince and Princess of Wales?
Yes, who are off-piste in terms of them being Prince and Princess of Wales, so they've gone north, haven't they?
They've gone north. Kate and William had a bit of a royal reset, I think, last week. It was their first joint engagement of January. They went to Scotland and they had a day of engagements in Falkirk and Stirling.
Well, how lovely for them. and for Falkirk.
Well, it was lovely. I mean, look, the Royals love Scotland.
Yes,
and it's totally genuine. It is a totally genuine love affair.
Yeah, and also we forget, don't we, that the royal family thinks of itself as a Scottish thing as well as an English thing.
Yes.
And as well, if you're Prince and Princess of Wales, as a Welsh thing, I think. But they are very much at home there.
Very much at home.
And then there's a sensational coat.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I love you. I love Kate's clothing. Is that a bit geeky to say? And I feel like on my tombstone, maybe you could etch Emily Andrews. She knew a lot about Catherine's wardrobe. Kate, actually, let's a quick for Catching Up the Royals.
Okay.
Are we going to call her Kate or Catherine?
I don't know. I think Kate seems to come more naturally to me now. Although, I don't know. What do you say?
Kate Middleton still gets the most SEO, search engine optimization.
Oh, so in the public mind,
which is why you still get a lot of online articles calling her Kate Middleton.
Oh, I see.
I know.
And in Scotland, she's probably Kate McCateface, right?
She's the Duchess of Rothesay.
Of course she is. That comes with
Duchess of Rothesay.
So wherever they go...
I'd probably mispronounce that now, Richard.
It's Rossi.
Rossi.
Yeah, well, that's what they say up there.
Rossi.
I was mooned there once, but that's another story.
That's another story. You have to tell me that after.
Okay.
So there they were. Kate was wearing a lovely coat, bespoke. She is great at kind of diplomatic dressing.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was really interesting, this away day up in Scotland, because they packed in, I think, 3 or 4 engagements, and they also did a walkabout, which is what William and Kate are very good at, I think. She's naturally quite reserved.
Yeah.
When I've met her in private, she's got a cracking sense of humour, but she is quite controlled, and you don't really see that side of her so much. But what I thought on that visit last week in Scotland, she and William were outside and they were chatting to the crowd, and someone called out, Kate, I think, even, not even Catherine, and she sort of ran over because there was a child who wanted to say hello, and I thought that really showed a real kind of ease with the job and a real kind of ease with what she was doing. William and Kate were visiting the National Curling Academy because, of course, we've got the Winter Olympics next month.
Very
and
exciting.
Team GB, hopefully, are going to get us some curling medals.
And I have form in curling.
Do you?
Yes, I have. I was once asked to leave the ice rink at Perth curling because I was too intoxicated, they felt, to wield a curling stone. This little bit of background's not helping us, is it? Sorry.
Well, I hope it helps Team GB in the curling in the Winter Olympics. But it was a front page picture. That picture of the Princess of Wales, she had a go at curling. And she was wearing a very long skirt. She'd taken the tartan coat off by this point, and she had a rather cool little knitted vest.
I heard that she passed the coat in a rather casual way to her husband, who took it like a dutiful husband, rather than there being, I don't know, a kind of groom of the coat waiting.
A flunky.
The other thing that's trouble about it is that they're quite touchy-feely, aren't they? They do.
Yeah.
They do seem kind of warmly at ease in each other's company in that very public way.
They do. And what's been really interesting is to sort of see the evolution of that on the public stage. I'm quite lucky, having covered the Royals since 2013. I have travelled around the world with William and Kate. So I've seen them sort of, I mean, they're always on duty when there's a journalist around, but I've seen them off camera a lot. And actually off camera, they've always been very tactile. William is a proper gent. He opens doors for her. He allows Catherine to go in front of him. He always is kind of checking to make sure she's okay. Out of the two of them, he's been born into this institution. He's been doing the job, so to speak, since he left university, really. And he's always tried to sort of help her in any way he can. But what was interesting was that we never saw that when they were on camera. They wouldn't hold hands. They wouldn't be tactile. The most that would happen would be they kind of look at each other, and that would be, you could kind of read it, but it never really kind of translated on the moving image. But what's been interesting recently is that they seem much more comfortable in showing that more tactile side. You might see them holding hands, or you might see William's hand in the small of Catherine's back.
Do you think this is new year, new reboot, new look? There's a sense of something being done differently.
I think it's a bit of a royal reset, yes, because I think Catherine has had a pretty torrid 2 years. Well, to be fair, so's William.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked about 2024 as being the most difficult and brutal of his life, which when you consider his mum died when he was 15, that's quite something for him, not to say that 97 was the worst year of his life. And obviously, Catherine, when she went into remission and then she got the all clear from her cancer this last January, Kensington Palace and her team made it very clear that she would have a very slow return to work. And in fact, that was a very sensible, I think, path, because you remember you were at Ascot last year, weren't you, when she didn't come?
Yes, I had an encounter with the Prince of Wales.
Did you now?
Well,
Tell me more.
Well, I accidentally walked into his box. And
Accidentally?
No, I did, because I'd been in it earlier before he turned up, and then I walked into it, and the bloke said outside, "Oh, have you been in here before?" And I said, "Well, yes, I have. Indeed, I had." And I walked in, and then there was a sort of inside guy, and he kind of ushered me out. And it was a bit.
He saw you coming.
Well, it was him and his pals, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and he kind of nodded, and that is the full extent of my relationship with the Prince of Wales. I have to say, though, he's very. You know how some people look very different from how they appear on telly? He's actually kind of, well, I think the word is hot.
I would say the Prince of Wales is hot.
Do you think?
Is that okay to say that?
Well, I'm saying it. But I mean, he's sort of kind of, formal and proper and everything, but actually he's got a sort of physicality about him, which I'm not sure, the camera necessarily picks up.
Not only is William charismatic and funny, he is quite physically imposing.
Yeah.
He's slim and tall, but with these broad shoulders. Now, I don't want to objectify anybody, least of all the Prince of Wales, but when you chat to him, and he is, he has a real attractiveness that I think, people often say, don't they, that when he was young, he had the hair and he looked like his mum, and now he's kind of lost his looks. I completely disagree. He has a magnetism in real life.
I think so. I mean, he has a charisma that comes with the job, I guess, but he also has a physical charisma, which was quite a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Ooh,
matron.
Now, we're coming up to a break, and I want you to there's a question that I wish to be considered.
Okay. Is this going to tax me? Probably.
No, I think you'll get this, but it's for the benefit of people.
I feel pressure, Richard.
Don't feel pressure.
Okay.
Don't feel pressure. It's a good pressure. Who is the most popular royal according to a recent YouGov survey?
Okay.
Answer after the break. Welcome back to Catching Up with the Royals, and you can catch up with us every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube, or every Saturday on 5. Before the break, I posed the question, Emily, who are the most popular members of the royal family? I know you'll know this.
I think Richard, the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine.
You're right. And do you know how many of us say we like them?
I seem to remember reading 77% approval rating.
On the nose, 77%. Makes you wonder what the other 23% are thinking, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
Now, a royal couple who perhaps don't enjoy those numbers would be Harry and Meghan. Of course, Harry has been back on this side of the Atlantic.
He has. Last week, he was in London for the third of his court cases against the British press. So there's been the case against the Mirror, which he partially won, and then the Sun that settled. And then last week, it was against the publishers of the Daily Mail, which Harry and 6 other claimants, very high profile, Liz Hurley, Sadie Frost, Baroness Lawrence, Stephen Lawrence's mum, they allege that the Mail and the Mail on Sunday have written a number of articles through phone hacking and illegal information gathering. Important to say that Associated deny any illegality. And it was interesting because I wondered whether on the very steps of the High Court, there might be a settlement worked between Harry, Elton John, Sadie Frost, the other claimants, and Associated. But Associated, both sides wanted to fight this case. It's 9 weeks, projected cost of £40 million, Richard.
Yeah.
And Harry had his day in court last week.
How'd it go?
Well, I think he found it very tough. I've got a lot of time for Prince Harry. I know you have too.
Yeah.
He's an emotional man. He has talked in the past about wanting to slay the dragon of the British press. Fair enough. And he was questioned for a number of hours by Associated's King's Counsel. And he had to be told off by the judge a couple of times because he was he was doing David Sherburn, his barrister's job, for him. And I think he really...
Hang on, David Sherburn, wasn't that the Agatha Christie guy?
Well done. It was. You're on this. He acted and won for Colleen Rooney. Harry's complaining about a number of articles that he says can only have come through phone hacking or illegal information gathering, of which Associated completely deny. But I think it's really got to him, I think it's really got to him because at the end of Wednesday, he almost broke down in tears. David Sherburn, his barrister, was asking him about how it affected him. And Harry said something along the lines of, the worst of it is I've had to come to court, relive all this, and they have made my wife's life a complete misery. Most of the articles that Harry was complaining about concerned his relationships with Chelsea Davy or Cressida Bonas, his 2 sort of most serious girlfriends. But inevitably, unfortunately, Prince William has been dragged into it as well.
Oh dear.
And yes, which I don't think is going to help fraternal relations.
Anything to read in Prince William and Catherine choosing to be at exactly the other end of the country at the time that Harry was in London?
I think that was probably a considered decision, right. Richard. But of course, the King was also supposed to be in Scotland.
Supposed to be?
Well, yes, he was supposed to be, and he was. But he actually came back to London for the day when Harry was in court, but he didn't see Harry.
Right.
So what do we think about hopes for reconciliation with his father? Because, of course, the last time Harry saw his father was in September last year. They hadn't seen each other for 18 months. They hadn't spoken to each other. This was the big olive branch. This was the cup of tea at Clarence House and a slice of chocolate cake. But then this time, the King didn't see his son.
It's all getting mixed up in my mind now with the dramas of the House of Beckham.
Oh, yes.
Because there's a similar kind of thing happening, isn't there, with sort of Brooklyn, who seems to be at war with his own parents and his own family. It's a dynasty thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I wondered if there's he has that thing with Prince Harry, you sense of someone who's kind of searching for an identity, when it's hard to do that because the identity is sort of handed out with the job.
I think it must be really difficult for both men, for Brooklyn and for Harry, because they've both grown up, had childhoods where they have, very high achieving parents, and obviously in Harry's case, grandmother and grandfather. And you've got to live up to the name. I feel very sorry for both men. I mean, the Brooklyn Beckham thing was kind of extraordinary, but it is also following the Prince Harry playbook, isn't it?
I kind of hope they're friends and that somewhere there are some blurred snaps that Brooklyn's taken of Harry kind of making one of his beef burgers. Yes. That could happen.
Or maybe Meghan's made her and Nicola and Harry and Brooklyn some of her famous cocktails with some dried flower sprinkles.
Or what about her jam that's not jam?
The jam is not jam, the raspberry spread. Maybe she sent some to Brooklyn and Nicola. Well, they don't live far away, I think, because they live in LA, don't they? And the Sussexes live in Montecito.
They've got to overlap, don't you think?
I have a feeling it was the Paramount boss who Meghan is good friends with brought them together, or there was some dinner party that they were all at.
Well, think of the jam that's not jam. Think
the jam.
The spread being handed out.
Yes.
Hampers and hampers of raspberry non-jam. I sometimes think with Harry, there's almost a sense that he's a sort of knight of old on a mission, and that he is kind of going to joust away at the press.
Yes, and actually the language that he's used in the past is quite Arthurian. He's literally talked about slaying the dragon. That is how so in that kind of medieval imagery, you can see him with perhaps in Windsor Castle, there's that suit of armour that fitted Henry VIII. You can almost see Harry kind of putting it on and the helmet and the visor down and getting the sword. Whenever I've spoken to Harry, sort of off camera, so to speak, he is absolutely someone who wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a very emotional guy, which I say as a positive. And he said to me, Emily, I get out of bed every morning and I think, how can I serve? What can I do? How can I make things better? Which is brilliant. I mean, what an amazing kind of way to start your day. What an affirmation. He wants to kind of reform the British press. It's twofold. I think he wants to reform the British press, but which, frankly, the British press don't have any money anymore. I mean, he's kind of fighting a case.
The dragon's already dead.
The dragon's dead. They've got no money. I know Leveson 2 didn't happen, but the British press are pretty well behaved and very much at heel because they have to be. But the other thing for Harry is that it's a personal mission, not just to try and help everybody else, but also because of his mother. In his evidence and in his witness statement, he talked about effectively how he believes the press killed his mother, and he doesn't want the same thing to happen to him or, more importantly, his wife. Look, what Harry and William as children went through at the hands of the paparazzi was horrific. And I don't think we will, well, I hope we'll never, but I don't think we'll ever see that happen again. Harry, it's instrumental that William and Catherine and their 3 children can go about their private life and we know nothing about it. It's even more impressive in the age of the smartphone that nothing is on social media. You never see pictures printed of Charlotte, George and Louis. I think I can totally understand why Harry feels the way he does. The press killed his mum, how he feels that he doesn't want anything to happen to anyone else again. But I really do feel that he's fighting a fight that is 15 years out of date. And also it's a risky fight in the sense that royals in the witness stand is an uncomfortable situation to be in lots of ways, isn't it? I mean, I'm trying to think who else. You hardly ever get that, do you? Yeah, and it's interesting because he said in his witness statement and in his evidence, I was part of the institution that never complained, never explained. But that's not true, Richard. Really? It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, I quite liked his kind of, or who maybe Sherbans or the solicitor's theatrics of, invoking that famous, never complain, never explain. Unlike us, Richard, with Catching Up with the Royals, we always explain.
I quite like to complain too.
You complain, I'll explain. Yeah. But he said that he was part of this institution, never complained, never explained. But actually, I mean, as recently as last year, the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine, sued a French magazine for printing pictures of them on a ski holiday in Courchevel in France. infamously, when a paparazzo photographer took pictures of Kate sunbathing topless in a private chateau that belonged to Viscount Linley, they sued the French and the Italian magazines that printed those pictures. Charles, now king, but when he was Prince of Wales, he sued the Mail on Sunday for invasion of privacy when they printed his those infamous black spider letters. So there is form for the royals to take recourse to the courts. It's just that it doesn't happen very often, and it was a bit of a PR spin, I thought, from Harry to try and suggest that the institution never complains, never explains, because that's just not true.
The king can't do it now, though, can he?
And that was the reason, I think, why the king didn't see Harry while Harry was in London last week. Unusually, Buckingham Palace briefed that the king would not be seeing Harry. I think, at the beginning of January, we all knew that Harry was going to come over and be there for the first week of the trial, stand shoulder to shoulder with the other claimants. But Buckingham Palace briefed that the king wouldn't see his son because the king didn't want to get kind of caught up in any of the court battles. And for me, the battles that Harry has been using the British court system, both to try and get his security reinstated, his taxpayer-funded security, and for his battle against the British press, he's been using the British court system to complain vociferously, as is his right as a private citizen. But the monarch, he's head of the British judiciary. Yeah. He cannot be seen to be taking sides. And the king, I think, in his sort of role as head of the institution, not as paterfamilias, not as father, but as paterfamilias of the institution, took the decision that he could not see his son whilst Harry was engaging in all this litigation because it was just too dangerous.
It's another we sort of agonise with them over their horrible family relationships and how difficult it is. But of course, there is always this constitutional dynastic element in it. It's not just people, is it? They're also roles, and those roles are absolutely fundamental to the way our state functions.
Totally. And I think on a personal level, you can have a huge amount of sympathy for Harry, for William, for Charles. I mean, this is a, personal family psychodrama writ large. And apparently it's now very fashionable to kind of cut off your parents or cut off your family.
Brooklyn has seemed to be working hard on that front.
I know. And apparently it's a real trend in America to estrangement. But my sense and what my sources tell me is that the king does want a relationship with his son. He does want to see his grandchildren. I mean, I think he's only met Archie twice and Lilibet once. Harry, we know, has publicly said he wants to make up with his family. So there's a real kind of sense that certainly for the king and Harry, that they do want to reconcile and they do want to see each other. But as you say, there's always that issue for Charles that he's not just a father. He's not just a grandfather. He is the representation of the institution. Dio et mon droit, God, am I right? Yeah. He is, the head of the firm. And that probably always top trumps being Harry's dad.
Can you imagine them drawing a line and just sort of resetting and just think, okay, all this turbulence in the past, we'll just consider that all done. Let's just try and move on and reconcile and try to find a way of being together.
Well, it would be lovely to think, wouldn't it?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, I think also it's very easy to become a casualty of an institution like the monarchy, I think, or the royal family, certainly. You just hope there's a place where you could maybe heal a bit.
Charles is a very spiritual man, and he takes great solace in faith. And of course, forgive me, Richard, you are the expert here, but my take on faith, one of the great tenets of any religion, is forgiveness.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I mean, I just hope there's a way that they can work that out, because I think it would be better for everybody.
I mean, the House of Windsor, it keeps on giving with the family drama. So after the break, we're going to move to another of the King's relatives who's been in the headlines, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. But before then, now, Richard, do you know, if you want to catch up with the royals, where on social media would you be going?
Well, I'm very glad you asked that. I would go to all the places on social media where I would connect with shows such as this. do you know I can do that on a Thursday? Or YouTube, why not go there?
Yeah.
Or
Instagram.
no, all the usual places, but also, of course, on 5 on a Saturday.
I know, on 5 on a Saturday, which is pretty cool. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as we know, in disgrace, the former Prince Andrew, he's moving to the Sandringham estate, but he's not allowed to take a certain thing with him. What do you think that could be? So, Richard, I'd like you to cogitate
All right.
and come up with some answers for me after the break.
Well, I've sketched some already.
So, Richard,
Yeah.
I can't wait for your answers to the question that I posed before the break, which was, what one thing is Andrew banned from taking or keeping when he moves to the Sandringham estate?
I've got 2.
Oh, go on then.
The first one is his 72 teddy bears, because now in his reduced circumstances, who's got time to arrange his 72 teddy bears?
He can't have the housekeeper to do it for him.
The other one, though, and I think I read this somewhere, is that the Queen has no cats rule. The late Queen had a no cats rule at Sandringham. So does that mean you can't take the cat?
You're absolutely right. You cannot have a cat on the Sandringham estate. It's the private estate of the royals. So it's owned by the Windsor family, unlike Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, which is owned by the state for the monarch. And no cats.
Why?
But I think it's because of the pheasants, because Sandringham is a big shooting estate.
Right.
And obviously the cats would stalk the pheasants
You can
and
eat all
kill
you,
them.
eat all you want buffet for them. isn't it?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But dogs are allowed. So, because of course Andrew and Fergie had the late Queen's 2 corgis.
Yes.
And so I genuinely don't know who is going to be taking the corgis. I imagine, I'm told that it's likely that it'll be Andrew who's taking the dogs, because he has been stripped of everything. I mean, a quick recap, I'm sure people don't need to be reminded, but obviously, he was the second son of the monarch,
a favourite son.
the favourite son. He was the spare, the original spare. He was good looking. He served in the Royal Navy with distinction, fought in the Falklands, came back with a rose between his teeth, had she was jolly hockey sticks, Sarah Ferguson. The marriage didn't work out, but they were held up as, really good parents to Eugenie and Beatrice. And yes, Fergie had her issues, was persona non grata with Prince Philip. But Andrew represented Britain around the world. He was a working royal. He had all these charitable interests and represented the armed forces, various regiments. And then Jeffrey Epstein scandal, he was imprisoned. And really it took kind of 10 years for the full disgrace of the man formerly known as Prince Andrew.
Nonetheless, of course, the allegations against him, he completely denies.
Last year, after Virginia Giuffre's very tragic suicide and the publication of her autobiography, was kind of the final nail in the coffin. And actually the royal family, I think, dealt with it very, very badly. I think they were desperately trying to contain this, and it's been going on and reacting. But actually, the way it was handled last autumn was an absolute playbook in how not to do PR. Because I think people might have forgotten, because now of course he's been stripped of his titles and his home and everything. But actually, what happened 2 weeks before that was that Buckingham Palace put out a statement in Andrew's own words, saying that he was voluntarily not using the Duke of York title. I mean, he wasn't being stripped of anything. He was just saying, I'm not going to use the title. But crucially, he didn't say anything about the victims. Andrew said he would essentially dedicate his life to good works and to try and help victims of sex trafficking and domestic slavery. And of course, we haven't seen that at all.
How's that going? Yeah.
Exactly. And that is very problematic for me, because that was just a carapace, wasn't it? It was his lawyers or whomever, the expensive PRs.
So extraordinary lack of self-awareness, extraordinary lack of insight. He's going to have, I imagine, some stretches of time in front of him where he's going to eventually have to confront that stuff.
Absolutely. And it's problematic in 2 main areas. One, it's problematic for the reputation of the royal family. I mean, the king didn't act decisively, in my opinion, but at the end, he did draw a very firm line under it by de-princing him.
It's internal exile.
I was going to say rusticated. He's been exiled in his rusticated. I know, I didn't even go to boarding school. He's been exiled in his own country.
What I don't understand here, Emily, is why doesn't he just go to Abu Dhabi and play golf all day? Because he would find, I think, a home there, wouldn't he? And he can just, and he would be out of the. Do you think that his desire to stay in the UK is partly that he does still want to respond to these allegations to restore his reputation?
I do think he wants to see his family, his daughters and his grandchildren. Usually he's got 2 young sons. Beatrice has got 2 young daughters. And in fact, interestingly, this week there were some new pictures published of Beatrice horse riding with her father and her elder daughter, Sienna. Sienna was on horseback, Beatrice was walking, and her father was riding out in front. And that was very, to my mind, very staged royal choreography. Because there was a story a couple of weeks ago in the Mail on Sunday that Eugenie completely cut her family off, her parents off, has done a bit of a Brooklyn.
She's the younger daughter, right?
Yes, Eugenie's the younger one, the brunette, and the elder one, Beatrice, the redhead. She was kind of trying to tread a fine line between staying in with the royals, as in the king and Prince William, her cousin, but also sort of being there for her family. I think in reality, what I have been told is that Eugenie hasn't cut her parents off and that she has seen her father recently. But obviously it is tricky for both girls because they have got reputations to bolster and look after as well, and
a commitment to charities that
yes,
are particularly concerned with the victims of that kind of sexual predatory behaviour.
Eugenie in 2017 set up the Anti-Slavery Collective.
Do you think this is a seam that is going to be exhausted as far as the media is concerned, or do you think this one is going to run and run and run?
What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult to manage. How do you solve a problem like Andrew Mountbatten Windsor? I don't know.
So I've never met Andrew Richard. I've been on engagements with him. Have you? I've observed him. Have you ever?
I have. I was at Pitch at the Palace.
Oh, were you?
The whole Pitch at the Palace thing. Yeah, no, I was there. And I sort of said hello. And then he made a surprisingly good speech, actually. But this, of course, was before there were any allegations of this kind of misconduct around him. Although there was already a sense that his work as a trade envoy had not always been entirely in step with what the Foreign Office or various government departments wanted for him.
If necessary, he could always run to Mummy, and Mummy would say, okay. Infamously, that's what happened with the Newsnight interview. Yeah. Emily Maitlis interviewed him in Buckingham Palace, and the Queen, and no one said, you cannot do this. A lot of courtiers thought it was a very bad idea, but no one did, because he just said, oh, I've spoken to Mummy. I mean, well, what can you say?
Her sun shines on you, but actually in the wider court, in the wider family eyes of the world, you've not got a clearly defined role. No. Maybe that does kind of drive you bananas after a while.
Well, I guess we've got Harry's words, haven't we? Harry's words as spare. I think the problem, and it will be, and it's a problem I know that William and Catherine really think about a lot for their 3 children. The institution is very set up for the next heir, in this case George, but what about Charlotte and Louis? And those feelings of kind of, Diana tried to raise both her sons equally. Well, that was a very noble thought, but Harry and William were never equal and were never going to be equal.
And there's a point, I guess, where they both realise it.
Yeah.
That, sibling relationships are difficult enough, but if one of them all of a sudden is told your destiny is to sit on a throne and wear this crown and have this golden stick, and the other one thinks, what do I get? Well, not so much.
You can ride a horse.
Yeah.
You can go and visit Slough on a wet Wednesday.
Well, we're going to have a break now. Don't forget, you can catch up with us catching up with the Royals every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts from, on YouTube, and every Saturday on 5. But we're going to leave you with a question, and it's this. 1992. It's a terrible year. 3 royal marriages burned down, and so did Windsor Castle. The Queen famously described it as being What? What was 1992 back after this? Welcome back to Catching Up with the Royals. And the answer to the question we posed before the break, the Queen called it her Annus Horribilis, dreadful year. How's this year going to look, do you think?
Well, I hope it's going to be an Annus Mirabilis.
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
That would be good.
We could all use a bit of a miracle.
We can all use a miracle. That's what you're here for, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I feel kind of feel a bit that it's kind of beyond my remit, this one, because it's such a tough one. But there are some remarkable things that could be happening. I mean, I'm thinking in particular of the handling of the President of the United States.
Careful.
Yeah.
Needs to be careful handling. Yes, well, the King and Queen are scheduled to be visiting the States in April as part of the 250 anniversary celebration, commiseration of American independence, when they chucked all our tea in the river and said, "Oi, you English people and your royal family, get lost."
Other histories are available.
Other histories are available. And so, yeah, it's rather bizarre, isn't it, that the King and Queen should be going to celebrate the fact that they were chucked out of the American colonies. But to go back to your point about Trump, he is in his second term as US president and he loves the British royal family. I mean, we saw that lavish second state visit and the banquet at Windsor Castle last autumn. The first
state visit was pretty lavish too.
I know.
Yeah.
And he's, as he said, an unprecedented honour. I'm not going to do the accent, it's too cringe. The protocol is, Richard, is that if you get a first state visit, there's only one. And even if you get a second term,
they dial it down a bit.
They dial it down. You come and have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, but obviously we had to pull something out of our arsenal, and so we invited Trump for a second state visit. But the thing is, Trump is, I think, unpredictable would be one of the words we could use.
Good word, yeah.
And he shoots from the hip.
Yeah.
But it's been quite tricky, I think, this proposed visit. At the moment, it's still going ahead. The recce has been, I think I mentioned earlier about how officials go and do sort of like a recce for tours or engagements. So they go and kind of run through, say, 100 engagements. They whittle those engagements down to maybe 20 or 30 that the royal will do. And it's problematic because, of course, the king is not just king of the UK, he's king of Canada. And Trump has said that he wants to annex Canada as the 51st state.
So the more belligerent Trump gets towards Canada, the more difficult it is for the king of Canada to go make nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm told by sources that Charles has not held back with his opinion. And I think that whilst obviously our royal family is kind of, the ultimate trump card, because I don't think any other country in the world can offer what we offer. I mean, there are other royal families are available, of course, but the British royal family is kind of preeminent in terms of kind of status and bling.
And Trump's mother was a Scot, of course.
And Trump's mother was a Scot. So we do have that. But, when Trump came out and made that statement about NATO and said that that the European partners in NATO were like behind the line and we didn't fight effectively. I mean, that was deeply, deeply disrespectful.
Prince Harry was one of the first to respond to it.
And I thought that was really interesting because 457 people died in Afghanistan when we answered America's call after 9/11. And as Harry pointed out, and I thought it was very interesting that Harry even issued that statement, because of course, had he still been a serving member of the royal family, he couldn't have said anything, because that's a political statement against an elected president. And whatever you think about Trump, it is politics. And so the other thing that was very interesting is that it was let known, or journalists found out, that the king's opinion and displeasure was effectively communicated to Trump about what he said about NATO as well, because within 24 hours of his comments, he'd spoken to our Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and he had then been told about the King's displeasure about what he had said.
And the dilemma it put him into.
Yeah, and the dilemma, and he completely climbed down. He came in sort of on his Truth Social, was suddenly saying that, you know, the UK was amazing, that our troops were fantastic, that we'd, you know, been very brave, etc., etc.
It's interesting, isn't it, that with someone who is so powerful and yet so volatile and so unpredictable, what works? Stroking him.
Stroking
You
him.
stroke,
It's like
stroke.
Blofield's cat.
And there's no stroker like the British royal family, is there? So this is an interesting, powerful, potentially powerful thing. Well, lovely stroking, if I may say so. But we've got a special thing now for everyone who's joining us.
More
Now,
stroking.
well, no, what we want to do is know your questions. What would you like to know? Email them to us, royals@spirit-studios.com, and we will put them in a box and produce them. And then we'll ask them and we'll find out the answer to your question. Now, we haven't had time. It's our first one, so we've been asking around the office and you've got the box.
Okay. So, yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Even if you just got some questions for Richard or I, it's royals@spirit-studios.com and you could be in the box. So I think Olivia in the office, we did a bit of a whip round.
Okay.
So let's see. Oh, hang on. Here we go. It's a prop. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I can't get the question out. Okay.
It's like the Brits all over.
I know, it's like the Brits.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Right. So Olivia in the office wants to know, given all the drama we've had over the last year with Andrew and also Harry, I wanted to know, can the monarch remove someone from the line of succession? What do you think?
Well, you know, the answer is always no, and then it turns out to be yes. But these have to be done. There's a thing called letters patent, which I think the monarch can do on his or her initiative.
Yep.
But there's also something which can only be done by statute and act of parliament.
Yep.
Normally, if something needs to be done, they'll find a way, right?
You're absolutely right. It's always a yes and no answer. Technically, it's a no. The monarch can't remove anyone from the line of succession because that has to be an act of parliament. But the monarch can change things with, as you say, a letters patent. The last example of which was when Catherine was pregnant with, as we now know, Prince George. And the late Queen issued a letters patent to say that regardless of the baby's gender, he or she would keep their line in succession. Because before George's birth, had George been a girl and then a boy been born as Kate Williams number 2, that boy would have leapfrogged the girl in terms of being heir.
Male
primogeniture, exactly. And I think there was also a letters patent about, there was a law which, as we know, because of Henry VIII and the session from the church in Rome in the 16th century, in the 15th century, Emily.
16th
in the 16th century. In the 16th century. Oh, thanks, Richard. What would I do without you? In the 16th century, Catholics were banned from marrying into the royal family. And I think you're not allowed to be Catholic and be obviously head of the Church of England. But the letter patent was changed so that you can be Catholic and marry into the royal family. There are examples of people previously having to convert to Church of England. Well, Richard,
yes.
I have to say, I've had such fun with you today.
Me
it's
too.
been a revelation.
Well, it's been a pleasure as well.
Oh, thanks. Shall we do it all again next Thursday?
I think so. Same time, same place.
Same time, same place. Now, don't forget, you can always catch up with Catching Up with the Royals on YouTube every Thursday and everywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch it on 5 on a Saturday, and we are on Facebook and Instagram. Just search Catching Up with the Royals and give us a follow. We would love to hear your comments.
Yes, I'd like to second that in every respect. Go to the internet, people, and press all your buttons.
Press the buttons. Can you press my buttons, Richard?
Well, that's all from the programme that never complains, but always explains. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.